Hello and welcome back to NIMBY Rails. We're back in Peterborough on our East Coast main line, or part of it anyway. And there's been an addition to our map. There's been a subtraction too, which is our bank balance has gone right down. I made a mistake with this tram service. A little bit about trams, we're going to take a look at it. First off, I don't think a circle line works the best, but I have been deep in the bowels of the game mechanics here, and my stations are suffering with misery and despair. For Peterborough Station, probably accurate. It's fine. It should be mediocre at best. Why is that? Well, this probably isn't helping. One of the key reasons I've found for their misery, an interchange such as this will ruin your reputation faster than serving prime rib at a vegan restaurant. It is terrible. I can show you. Here's what's going on. This is what we're going to take a deep dive in. Next time out, the next NIMBY video is going to be the big series. We're going to go for this recreation, East Coast Mainline. However, we're going to do it properly. And we'll pay close attention to all of this. Happiness, the game mechanics. I could turn the finances off, which would be probably the best way if you wanted just to do a recreation. But I do want to play the game itself, the mechanics. However, there seems to be an issue with their happiness. And if they're waiting for a connection, time in the middle there is going to go down. What speed have we got it on currently? Normal time. Let's just up that a little bit. There you go. Look at how quickly that's going against you. Now, it's not going to affect Peterborough as far as I've worked out. It only changes at the end of a day. So bang on midnight, that will update. And I think this is how it works. All this misery that just entered the station is going to count against you. Minus 52. It's per passenger, and I believe this is the average of all of those, so 15 passengers. I'm going to have to slow that back down. They're going in and out the station too quick. Fares are a mess. I've completely misjudged how much they're willing to pay. Although, to be fair, some of these are ridiculous. So I can see that needing a little bit of tweaking. We'll do some of that today. We're going to figure out what went wrong. If they leave this station miserable because they've waited for a train, it's going to affect other stations down the line. Now, the reason I said that an exchange is a bad thing is the timer is ticking once they're in the station for their journey, which is accurate, I would say. The problem is, I think it's a little too aggressive. It's really hard to do this. I have done it, and we'll load that up shortly, where I've managed to stem the tide somewhat. This is the state of play. I designed all this. I thought I was being clever. Unfortunately, what I did was pretty much ruin the map. Well, no, this doesn't work either. It can work though, which we'll see a little bit later on. For now, I'd like to go through more of these numbers. So yes, during the day, every passenger will either add or subtract to this score for your station, meaning if at the end of the day it goes down 0.01, that's good, because the next day it's also going to go down 0.01, providing the same happens. So don't make any knee-jerk reactions once you've made changes. Let the day go by, or a couple of days, and see if this score is improving, and then you've nailed that. Other things to take in consideration. Timings. I didn't go into this in great detail. There's a broken one here. If we go to Gladstone Primary Academy. Oh yes, I should mention trams. There is no tram network in Peterborough. But in NIMBY Rails, what a tram is everything. Buses, cabs, everything. Because there's no cars. Well, I guess the cars would be the catchment areas. You'll see I've made a lovely bubble. And you will subtract from a station's catchment or population if you overlap there. bear that in mind. Now, if we can visualize the circle here, this circle should go like that. Now, everybody within this area is now forced to get on here and here. Part of the misery, I would imagine. It's adding to their overall fare to get to where they want to go. Catchment areas are important. And doing things like this, which is probably where I made my first mistake, is not a good idea. My second mistake was too many interchanges, as we've got here. This was just me trying to fix things. Anyway, back to timings. We've got a rough situation. Heading between Gladstone Primary Academy and Peterborough Station. Our trams can do 45 all the way. Tram tracks can run over anything. And just remember that they are acting as all your bus services, cabs, and everything else in between. What's in between a cab and a bus? I don't know. But anyway, yes, the timings are off between here and here in both directions. So we'll bring up the old line routes here. And that is just causing issues for this station and any station after that as well. It's just going to compound as it goes round. If the first leg is abysmal and the second leg is okay, they're still in abysmal mode. Abysmal mode? Yes. Also, minimum wait times. Terrible. You don't need them like that. We have this button down here to set everything down here to whatever you put in here. Now, I would like to do the same with minimum wait times, because the only way to do it that I've found so far is to type them all in. This average branch is not technically the station. It's if it's held up at any switches is what I've found. Which brings me to the reason this is a problem. Where's our train? Let's get this running a little bit faster. I want to pick a train that's heading there. Remember, this should be doing 45 miles an hour, kilometers an hour even. But it limits itself to 38 due to the timing here. Peterborough Station to Gladstone Primary Academy. That's this one here. That's how long that section should take. 4 minutes. Now, if we go in and change that and select our next train, what we've got to do is reduce this until it runs at 45 miles an hour and then knock it up a little bit, I guess. I'm going to go with 330. It's slowed down. I don't like that. I can see why it's in there. It's in there to prevent you putting a ridiculously long time here and the train getting there super early, meaning everybody's super happy. The problem I have with it, it's too aggressive. I would like a little bit of leeway in that so that you can allow for all the usual disruptions that are happening without the train needing to slow down. Obviously, there's got to be a cap, hasn't there, percentage-wise, because you could cheese it. I can see why it's in there, gameplay-wise. I could be getting all this wrong, but this is what I found out, and I've spent hours. I've spent hours trying to fix our beautiful map, and it went sideways very quickly. Let's close all these. Is this the train that's heading there? Is it doing 45? Yes. See, now it's doing 45. Look at Grumpy McGrumpants here. Well, 13 of them. Yeah, they're absolutely miserable. That's another thing. This here. Way too expensive for trams. You're probably better off going something like this. They cost next to nothing to run. In fact, I'm going to say 15. Now, that will cheer them up no end anyway. Right, there's another one going up there. It's doing 45. What we can start to do now is raise that until they do 44. So we'll try 335. That keeps their happiness level-ish. And we've also got to take into account the station. I know, it's a numbers episode today. We need to look at the next train coming. Let's just check this train does 45. It is, so we can raise this a little more. You don't want to be under, but you can't go over. That's when you lose speed. We do slow down around this corner, which in hindsight, I could have just ploughed through here. It's not very realistic, but then this section of it's not supposed to be really. 340. Let's try that. I'm going to drop all these as well. These should all be not 50. 5. There we go. I prefer all these to just sit there for 5 seconds and get going. That will help your happiness. This is what I was talking about. This is the only way to do this. I'll only do it this once. I'm sure if you've got it now at home, you've already got to this stage and gone, oh, why isn't there a button to set all these to like whatever time you want, X time. Clicking this estimate travel times is what I did for this. How fast are you going? We can still increase this a little more. This is what I spend most of my time doing. And I don't mind it. However, it could be a little more enjoyable for those of us that like to tweak and really micromanage. I haven't found a way to see how long the last leg of a journey took a train. I looked in here. It doesn't tell you. This is just until the last train was there, and this is the distance between two trains. It's a good way to check on any trains that might be, or trams, doing a slower speed than they should do. That's where I found it initially. Well, I found it with that and Mr. Grumpy Face here. It's awful. That's a bad score. But anyway, the same's happening in Peterborough because misery spreads around the map pretty quickly. And yeah, we're missing, aren't we? We're missing something. Perhaps if you went to the train itself, or just the information of the train, it needs another tab, doesn't it? You got accounting and passengers. What you really need is journey. You can sort of work it out here. It tells you how long the leg takes, but it doesn't tell you the seconds, which is going to be really important because you are talking seconds. I mean, I guess you can get a rough idea from that. It'll give you a ballpark figure, but that's all it is. When you consider you've got to do that for really every section of your line on all your lines, otherwise misery will spread. I don't know what happens if everybody gets miserable. Do they stop using your station? It might not matter at the moment. In the future, it could be terrible. People will stop using your station. It is early access. Things are going to change. There's a list of things that are going to change. There's already mods on the workshop, and I've not found a way to add mods to this game. So that's yet another reason to start an actual series and get some of the mods, especially since people in the UK modding scene have put some UK trains, including the Intercity 225, which would be perfect for our East Coast main line. And I think when we do start, we start from London. The obvious choice is there. The amount of people, look at them all, compared to Peterborough, which is patchy at best. That's why I sent these out here. It's probably not the best one to have done first. You got North Breton up there, which is jam-packed, and Warrington's quite busy, as well as the two Ortons, which is accurate. You've got these down here. Is that a new place? I don't know where that is. I know Stanground, but you got Yaxley as well. I mean, the other thing is improve the network, couldn't you? You could add the station here. This is all important things to know before we move on. I mean, we're on the outskirts of London here, close to. We don't have far to go. But if we're going to do this, we need to make sure we're making a lot of money to begin with. London is a tough build. Let's see if we can see where King's Cross would be. Finsbury Park, here we go. Which is, the station's there, so if we scroll down a bit, we should find King's Cross. There it is. Let's turn this off. King's Cross, platform 9 3/4, would sit in here. Now, if we go to building and straight away build a station just for an experiment, that's something like, look at that, 5,142. Peterborough was only like 2,000 and something when it started off. Here's an interesting thing. You drag this too long, it's reducing the number of people in the catchment area as it moves the circle up like that. So be careful where you place it. Look for the best spot when you lay your initial station down. 5,000 people compared to the couple of thousand we've got to deal with in Peterborough. With the tram network, that increases quickly. We could start in Peterborough. We could, as long as I did the trams better. A point-to-point is probably ideal, where you turn around. So we just head all the way out through Orton here, all the way up to Orton Southgate and back. If you're wondering, the populations are based on the amount of intersections, loosely, with a factor applied to that, a fixed factor. So that's the game mechanic side of it. We could add something in today. We're a bit broke because of this. Oh, I know what I can do. I can show you my fix, as you can see here. Misery ensues everywhere. It's just terrible. And our trains are an issue. Frequency is one of the biggest problems that I've got here at the interchange. This line needs far more trains, which is what I did to fix it. Right, here we are. No money, we're broke. But I've got it down to 0.22, and every day that is dropping. It's currently Tuesday, 2nd of February. That's how far in we are. Now, 2 million isn't great because we have that loan payment on February the 14th of 18.8 million. However, we're doing all right. Something to remember on your days. Sunday and Saturday are your quiet days. That's a more game mechanic-y again. Saturdays are usually quite busy, aren't they, in real life? But Friday is your absolute busiest. It's kind of your rush hour through the week. Monday's quite busy as well. And then kind of tails off in between, but still way busier during the week than it is at the weekend. So remember that. If you're going to be judging how much you're earning, just remember you should take a look at the figures down here. When we go back to Monday, for instance, boarded train 126.6k, and then Sunday it was only 64,000, roughly the same. In fact, I think it was the same network. So yeah, half the amount of people. I added this line in. This is a direct line, but again, what I've done to myself here is given myself another interchange. In hindsight, what I think I should maybe do is continue this line down here, and then we have the possibility of trains backing up. However, we could thread the needle, couldn't we? We could thread these in with these so that it works perfectly. I think we could get away with it. That way we can continue this around and join in. Since I never showed you, I don't think, how to branch a line, we're broke. But what we can do, since we're not playing this anymore, take out another loan. There we go. 100 million, 10 years. There we go. Monthly payment, 1 million. Doesn't matter. There, we've got some spending money. Let's branch out of here. Currently, you'll see it's turning the other way. You can change it. If you hold shift, it'll flip it. There you go. But, yeah, we need it to head out that way and head to the other station. So you put it in, and then you can, you know what, Control Z. I did all of that wrong. Right, branch, but this time, select tram tracks. There we go. That's better. It's a bit tidier, isn't it? Right, you're going to branch out from here. We're going to come round, and then we're going to join in the station. I do wish the tram tracks had a bit more speed. 45 is really slow, kilometers an hour. It was 45 miles an hour. Acceptable. 45 kilometers, not so much. Right, there we go. You'll see it's put signals here, and it should have put one down here, depending on where you've got your node in. So ideally, you want smaller nodes where you're going to have a junction. But this is just an experiment, isn't it? So we'll do what we like. Right, so we're going to build that. We're now connected to Peterborough, which should take out this. It will still leave an interchange in for anybody wishing to travel back up this way, or perhaps down there. But for anybody who wants to go to Peterborough Station, for example, can stay on these. It removes one of the interchanges, this one, which can cause a lot of issues. Whether this works, I don't know. We'll find out. So what we can do now is Gladstone Primary. We want to add Peterborough on this side. We do have the potential to snarl everything up down here. After Fallbridge, we want to go on C. That should be perfect. Let's take that off a second. Yes, we've got no travel times for these. What I like to do now, that I understand it a little better, is set the branch time to 0. I don't want to estimate anything there. I'm going to set the speed to 45. So anything you change manually here will padlock. If we do this, you'll see them all slightly adjust, and it's entered a couple of times in here. That gives the passengers an idea of how long their journey should take. Obviously, with the trams slowing, if you underestimate your journey times, or do it on purpose, try and make an extra bit of happiness happen in the world, you get punished for happiness. That's not how that works. But anyway, yes, we'll see how this works now that this isn't an interchange heading into Peterborough. It might do a lot better. We can afford to get in here and we can clone this. Now, these you can change. You can add all sorts of orders. But you can, for instance, at the weekend when it's quiet, send it to the depot and have less trains running. But given that people get miserable waiting for a connection, really miserable, it's probably not worth it. I've found that just running them is fine. If you want to make a recreation as opposed to play the financial side of the game, this is beautiful. You could have extra stops between 8 and 10 and less stations, say, at night time, and then head to the depot. It can get very complex. But that's cool, isn't it? If you want to represent real life services, there's definitely the option to do it here. But anyway, yes, what we're going to do, we're going to duplicate this one, clone him. Right, so we'll clone you, and as you see, 11.9 million. That will help the frequency. It will teleport to this lines wherever you've told it to start, which I believe is Peterborough now. Yes, there you go. He's going to be heading off. I wonder if we've got the same issue here. Here's another problem. We're going to have trams queuing, which is going to punish us severely again. What you'd really have is some sort of tram interchange where you can assign them their own platforms. I think that would be the best bet. Also, yeah, I should mention this as well. Peterborough Station has a capacity of 5,000. Regardless of the size of the station, 2 platforms, 200 people. Once you add a second part to the station, regardless of size, again, there we go, 800. It goes from 200 to 800. How many we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gives you 5,000. That's good to know. That's how you increase the capacity should you be running into issues. Oh yes, we need to check to see if this train has done something silly between Peterborough and Gladstone Primary. Now this is suggested 325. What was this one's? This one is about 333. Okay. 325 might be a bit nippy. We might be able to do something about that. Just improve the happiness for anybody taking that. If there are 2 identical timings here to get to Gladstone from Peterborough, and say, for argument's sake, identical frequency, which one will the passengers choose? The developer, Carlos, has said he wants to add a better way for our passengers to move around. Currently, they'll just pick the quickest to get to wherever they're going. A bit like Transport Fever. That will be interesting when 2 trains are identical. It'll probably be the next quickest one. So they could use each. Or any. Or either. All of them. Which is what I'm hoping. This one has defaulted to 30. So we'll change that to 5 seconds. I don't want our trains waiting around. That's 50. You've done 50. I don't want our trains waiting around in the platforms. Especially now that we share platforms. But yeah, I hope that was interesting for you. We'll get into the building. at the start of the series. We'll start with a fresh map, so you can join me for all of it. And we will start in London at King's Cross. It's still going to be the East Coast Main Line. We will be back here in Peterborough eventually. But first, we need to make us a healthy, profitable line where everybody is happy. So we're going to dive deep into that. And again, the balancing of the game could change. So what I've said today might not be applicable in a couple of weeks. I don't know how it's going to progress, but I'm loving it. I spent hours doing it. I wasn't cheesed off. I was scratching my head at times and wondering why they were overly unhappy, but there we go. We've found it. Interchanges are going to be the bane of your existence. I think it should be possibly a little more lenient while they're waiting to swap trains, or just not affect it at all, because it does count against whatever station they then get off at. So having too many interchanges currently, the way the game works, is a bad idea. Unless I've got it all wrong, of course. Anyhow, let me know down in the comments what your findings have been. Maybe we can discuss loads of things that I've been doing wrong. Or maybe you learned something today. It was a lot. It was a lot to get through. There's so much I do want to still explore with you. But if we start a fresh map, well, not a fresh map, it's the world. The map is always a world. I will end on saying that the pricing is now out. It's about $15 or 13 quid here in the UK, somewhere in between on euros. All I'm going to say is dirt cheap. That's a bargain for what you get. I'm looking forward to seeing how this progresses. And with all the knowledge I've gained in the first few days of using this, I think we can get away with recreating all of the UK. I mean, not at first, not during EA, but we'll do segments of it and still play the game, still play with finances. If that proves to be false, we'll turn money off and just recreate some lines, or get a little bit fantasy-like. Fantasy-like, is that a term? I don't think so. Creative, I think, is what you were looking for there, Grant. And yes, get a little creative and just make something fictional. Improve on things, who knows? But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. It was a bit different today, but we'll be back with the building in the first of a new series where it'll be called the East Coast Main Line. There we go, starting from London. So, until then, take care.